Live streaming is on.
Okay, let me just make sure this is working. And yes, it's working. Excellent. So I'll do good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to an early stream of Paranormal Encyclopedia. Just give me a moment while there we go. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start getting together and posting all the links so people can find us. As always, I am your host, Kevin Mears, demonologist, paranormal investigator, and the Paranormal Encyclopedia. I will let Brian and our wonderful guests introduce themselves while I get everything finished.
As sometimes I am Brian McKinley, author of vampire novels and general enthusiast. Pretty much just here to give Kevin someone to talk to.
Lovely introduction. You're too brief. There's much more to say.
Yeah, Brian sells himself short.
Maybe that's for the best.
Under promise, over deliver. That's
right.
Generally my philosophy.
Love that. Okay, I will try to keep the standard and go by the same philosophy then. I'm Gloria Anderson. I'm Transylvanian by birth, and I grew up in Transylvania, but I live now in wonderful Sweden, very close to Stockholm. It's really hot right now here in Sweden, which you might never believe because you think Sweden, snow, cold and so on, but now it's really warm and nice and sunny. So yeah, I'm running the travel company Experience Transylvania, and I had the pleasure and honor to have Kevin as a guest last year on a Transylvania tour led by Dacre Stoker, who is an international best-selling author and great-grandnephew of Bram Stoker, author of Dracula. Thank you so much for having me, guys. It's really nice to see you again.
It's a pleasure to have you, Gloria. And your tour company, I had such a wonderful time over there. So I want my listener, because I know people that listen to the show are interested in going. They've expressed that to me, even though they didn't have money to go last year. So I want to help them connect with your company, because I think you'll help them get the experience they want to have.
Thank you so much for making this possible, Kevin. I'm really grateful because, our company is quite known here in the Scandinavian region. We fought a lot for that. It wasn't easy, but it's now we're trying to expand and talk to a more international and also US, mostly US audience. And thanks to you, I'm very glad that we can broaden the message and let people know what a lovely destination Transylvania is, and Romania in general, because Transylvania is a part of Romania.
Yeah. I have to agree. I mean, I've seen documentaries and I've seen specials and things like that take place or feature Transylvania and other parts of Romania. And despite the image people might have of it from movies, it is an absolutely beautiful land. And I was really taken away by the vistas, by the places we got to see and things of that nature.
I won't contradict you on that. I might be biased.
I'm really interested in going. I'm just waiting for the no frills package deal. Then maybe I can do it.
Yeah, well, we're really doing our best to, it's once you're in Transylvania, you need to be there a few days. So there's no way you can get away with anything under, I would say, 6 days. Or of course you can get away, but it's better to plan for a longer trip and make the best of the flight investment, so to say. Of course, once you're in Europe, you might want to go other places as well, which is what a lot of our travelers do. But yeah, it usually comes up into prices above 2,000 euros, which is impossible to get away without if you're going to keep standards and so. But I think now finally, for this Halloween, we made it. We actually nailed it, and we have a package price for 9 days tour with Dacre Stoker again. Well, this is, let's say, it's a unique tour because it's the only time so far we were able to have Dacre in Transylvania for Halloween exactly. Otherwise, we try to do other tours throughout the year, but for Halloween it's really tough because it's Halloween and it's the great birthday of Bram Stoker, so
Kind of his season,
a lot of invitations and a lot of other events going on and lectures and other engagements that he has. But for this year we made it, and guess what? We really kept the budget tight and without compromising the quality of the tour. But we made it under 2,000 euros, and it's 1,992, which is also the year of Bram Stoker's Dracula, the film by Francis Ford Coppola. So we thought it's a nice number.
I agree. It's still a lot out of my price range, unfortunately, but God, I wish I could go.
I have a budget saving idea though, and it's atmospheric. You put the people in coffins and you ship them over on the plane in cargo, so it costs less. You get the real Transylvania experience.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the transportation cost, the cargo cost will probably skyrocket. It could be a very good budget alternative.
The economy plan.
And it's atmospheric, really. Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you this much: my flight, because I flew from New York City to Paris and then Paris to Bucharest, and it felt like I was in a coffin.
Some of those seats you can't tell anymore. They're so narrow.
It was Air France, but it was also regular seats, not like business or first class. So it's like, and the way out, there was 3 to a row. Everybody packed in like sardines. There was not much room.
Yeah.
Well, it's like that nowadays, and don't get me going on Ryanair or other similar. Maybe you don't know so much about Ryanair, but here in Europe, everyone knows Ryanair, and it's them who gave the tone for this kind of really like this squeezed traveling. So yeah, it's a.
I have actually heard of Ryanair.
Sorry?
I said I have actually heard of Ryanair.
Yeah. Well, it's becoming more known outside of Europe too. But I think they were quite pioneering back in the day, like 20 years ago when I was a student. I remember that everyone was doing Ryanair and flying without any luggage. And well, what's actually, this is also a budget. This is a real one. I mean, not or not atmospheric, but logistic. You might want to consider, I don't know how it is for transatlantic flights, but within Europe, it makes quite a big difference to not check in your luggage price-wise. Yeah. So it's really like, it could be over 100 euros per back and forth flight. So, yeah.
I'll say the advice that I found online, and I ultimately went with when I went, is Air France, coming out of New York at least, offered me one checked luggage, one personal item like a laptop bag, and one checked luggage under the plane. Now, I hate checking luggage because every time I do, they lose it. So I came up with a very good system, I think, which was I loaded up everything I could get away with into a carry-on luggage and my laptop bag, and I took those. But I also packed a small, like, portable backpack, because my logic was if, like, I had a ton of, if there was just too much and they wouldn't let it through, or if I had a lot of souvenirs coming back and I couldn't get it through, I could stuff a bunch of clothes, dirty clothes, in the portable backpack, and on the way back, if that gets lost for 3 days, who cares? Because you're home, you have all your other clothes and everything.
True. May I ask, you did I remember when we were in Sigishwara last year, Sigishwara being the town where Vlad the Impaler was born, according to most sources, historical sources. And we had 2 nights there last year during the tour with Stoker. And I remember you were flirting with the idea of buying a really cool little box or like some kind of souvenir, like a vintage. It was an old thing, right?
A chest set.
Yeah, a chest, right. Did you buy it eventually?
Yes, I did.
You did? Okay. How did it go with the transport? Like, was it large? I haven't seen it.
It was it's a little bit bigger. It was a wooden box with a metal chest set and metal pieces in it. It actually, I managed to stick it in my suitcase and got it through customs, no problem. I thought for sure that was the one. I'm like, this is going to weigh too much or make the bag too big. But no, I had no issues. I didn't have to check it.
Great. That's
and
good.
I have it. It's a gorgeous chest set, which also is something I was going to comment on with pricing. The 1992 euros and flights. I mean, it was about a little over $1,000 round trip. I want to say, for me, can seem intimidating, but the cost of like getting a meal when I was over there, the cost of the souvenirs I got very good food, very nice souvenirs for very reasonable prices.
It's true. So Romania still counts among the, let's say, not low-cost destinations, because it's not low-cost any longer, but still you can get really good service, good food, great hotels for the money that you wouldn't dream of in, like, let's say, I'm picking Scotland. I'm thinking of the Dracula destinations that we have, Scotland, Ireland. It's really, not to mention France and other West European destinations. It's really costly to spend nights in good hotels, central hotels. So yeah, Romania is price worthy, I must say. Yeah.
I was going to say that particularly in relation to going somewhere here in the United States. Lots of places here are much more expensive for lower quality hotel rooms, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, to my shame, I haven't been to the US yet. It's been on plan since forever, more or less. But I never, being so busy with the trips that we're organizing around here, around Europe,
That's more than fair.
I was never able to fit it in the schedule, but yeah, it's coming. Victoria Price is going to organize a really cool trip this October, which is, I was really thinking about doing that. It will be a bit tight, a bit close to the Taker, like to the Halloween tour in Transylvania. So I'm still wondering whether I will be able to, but yeah, I'm thinking about it.
I'm actually thinking about it as well. Peter reached out to me.
Yeah. Okay. So will you?
I don't know. It depends on dates. It depends on budgets. The thing, being a paranormal investigator, Halloween's also a pretty busy time for me.
Exactly. Yeah. You guys know more than me, better than me about this.
But I'd like to go. It's Edgar Allan Poe. I love Edgar Allan Poe. Who doesn't? And Victoria, I mean, I met Victoria for the first time on the tour. It's such a wonderful woman.
Yeah, she's lovely. Yeah, it was a big event, this tour that you participated in, Kevin. It was, on the one hand, it was Dacre Stoker, and on the other hand, Victoria Price, daughter of Vincent Price. So what more iconic do you want to have in Transylvania?
And Dacre as well, and he's a friend of the show. We've had him on several times. We're working on getting Victoria. She's busy with her own projects, of course. Yeah. But both are just such wonderful people. And you and Nora as well. I mean, it was surrounded by such knowledgeable, wonderful people. It was such a great tour.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really nice. It brought a lot of knowledge to us too, because I keep on saying this every time I get the chance to talk about Dacre and the collaboration with him. every time, I mean, we've heard him so many times talking about Dracula, about Bram Stoker's writing of the novel and research before writing and during writing the novel, while writing the novel. And every time I listen to him, there is something, one detail or more details, maybe of bigger importance or lesser importance, literally or literarily speaking. But really, there's always something new. So I'm never like, okay, I've heard this before. I always listen to him with like the same kind of curiosity, and it's really amazing how he masters the research that he's done himself and research of other people that he's corroborated. So it's really cool.
Yeah, he is wonderful. A lot of fun to listen to. I mean, I've been reading about Dracula all my life, and again, I learned so much listening to him and everyone else. And it's like what I didn't know, what I thought I knew that was wrong. And there's so much more to do over there for me. I mean, it's like I never got up to the graveyard in Siggy Shore to go see if I could talk to the children the Pied Piper kidnapped. For example,
this we need to dig talking of graves, but dig a little bit deeper regarding this Pied Piper legend, because according to what I've read, and of course this is a legend and nobody knows exactly, well, what we know exactly is that the Saxon, the German, the Germanic settlers who came at the end of the 1100s, came on historically. They came on invitation of King Geza of Hungary. Then there was another King Andrew also of Hungary. Transylvania was part of Hungary for centuries. So until the end of World War One. But anyway, so this is how the Germanic population came to Transylvania. They were invited in there for they were very good in, how do you call this in English, when you are oh, there's something on the line.
Yeah, I was going to say something odd happened to this audio.
Yeah, maybe Pied Piper, the Pied Piper, what we're or what I'm saying about it. No, but yeah. So the Saxon people, the Germanic people were invited by this Hungarian king in order to protect the border towards the Ottoman Empire. They were very good, not handlers, and they were very good with different handicrafts, like
like craftsmen.
Craftsman. Yeah, thank you. Sorry, I'm so brainwashed by the Swedish language, so now every specific words come to my mind in Swedish. So craftsmen who were supposed to develop the country or the region in order to be a better protection against the hordes of Ottomans and other invaders. And so that's the historical truth. But then there's the legend of the Pied Piper, who is said to have led the Germanic children who then became the Saxon settlers in Transylvania. So that's but it was actually, according to what I've read, it was Brashov. It was Sigishwara, but it's a legend, so we're not sure whether it was this or that place.
Yeah, you would know better than I. I know that I looked at a couple of different sources I found online, and it's the internet, so giant grains of salt. But did say Sigishwara, but Brasov would also Brasov or anywhere else could be possible.
Yeah, according to different sources. I mean, there are. Maybe we've discussed this during the trip. I don't remember if you were there. In our little group, we were discussing the birth of Vlad the Impaler, Vlad Dracula in Sigishwara. And of course, there are some theories that deny that as well. So there's a lot of argumentation and counter argumentation and theories that don't sustain other theories and so on. So
I remember you guys telling us that there was the problem of the house that he's supposed to have been born in is inside of the walls, which wasn't it after dark? Only the Saxons were supposed to be inside.
Exactly. So after 5 or after 6, depending on the season. So in winter, probably it would have been 5. Otherwise, later on, the Saxon towns such as Sigishwara, Brasov, Sibiu, all these burgs of Siebenbürgen would close their gates, and there was this harmless segregation between the Germanic and the Romanian and even the Hungarian population. So all these were living their own lives in their own communities, in their own little. There was the Germanic enclave, there was the Hungarian community, and then there was the Romanian majority who were from the beginning in the region. So all the others were more or less settlers who came throughout the centuries. But in the same way, pretty much everyone had the same right to be there. But the Saxons were privileged because that was part of the deal. When I told you the king of Hungary, Geza, invited them to, asked them whether they would come and settle there and protect the country, protect the region, and build structures, fortifications, have this guild structure or organization within the craftsmen's communities, like many other medieval towns around Europe, actually. They got this privileged status, so they were allowed to have the best areas to settle in the town. So in town was the privilege of the Saxons. Outside of town, outskirts, meadows, villages, and so on, of course, there was it was open for the Hungarians and the Romanians. All these three couldn't exist without each other, because the Romanians, they were agriculture people, they were farmers, shepherds. The Saxon needed milk, cheese, all these things that they weren't able to produce within the walls of the medieval fortification of the medieval town. Okay, there were the villages, of course, where the Saxons, they were able to have cows but not at the same scale like the Romanians. They had really large flocks of sheep and so on.
Yeah.
So they were trading with each other, but they were segregated. So as you were saying, long story short, Vlad's father, whom we have proof that he was around Sigishwara at the time when Vlad was born. And that's how the conclusion was drawn, corroborating several documents and more or less historical, let's say, historically approved documents. Well, it's tough. But I'm going to tell you something. Yeah. So the conclusion was drawn like that the fact that Vlad's father, Vlad Senior, because he was also called Vlad, was being Wallachian, so of Romanian origin, not being Saxon, shouldn't have been allowed to be within the walls of the city. However, he was a nobleman. So on invitation of the nobility of Sigishwara, he might as well have been there inside of the walls. So we still this. This is a very mystery veiled personality, this father of Vlad. We don't even know we don't have any pictures of him. The picture that is shown or told us that it's him, it's not really him, that the one that from the fresque inside of the house of Bern, or the so-called house of Bern. So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, just as a conclusion, it's anything about Vlad should be introduced or started with the word allegedly, I would say. I think I might have said this before, but yeah, allegedly he was born in Sighisoara, and a lot of allegedly when it comes to Vlad the Impaler.
That's the general problem with the Middle Ages is, we don't always get good documentation of anything.
No.
The further you go back in history, the more you're contending with myth and legend.
Yeah.
I
Except
think
for the Romans, who were ridiculously fanatical bookkeepers.
the Babylonians were too. I mean,
Yeah.
they still find basically grocery lists from ancient Babylon.
Yeah, there's certain cultures really knew how to do it, but
yeah. Well, guys, I would like to recommend you. Well, there is this Corpus Draculianum Society. I don't know if there is any chat that I can put a link in. Oh, there is a chat. I could put the while you after I finish what I have to say, I will search for the link. And there are these historians who have a series of. They have a YouTube channel and they have a series of talks about Vlad. And it's really interesting. Many of them are unfortunately in Romanian, but I think you can generate half good subtitles in English. I'm not sure with YouTube. I think you might be able.
Else, maybe if they speak English, we could invite them on our channel.
Yeah, you could do that. Of course, you can reach out. I think they have a Facebook page as well, and they are very well documented, and they keep on coming, and that's where we learned a lot of our stuff actually from them, and they keep on coming with new stuff as they discover documents.
Fantastic.
And they are very serious, and they make some statements, and in case they were wrong, they get back to they have this how do you call that, addendum, or in books you have this correcting what says in print. Sorry, footnote
or revisions.
Exactly. So they take it very seriously, and that's how, unfortunately, a lot of myths will be unbuilt, or you will a lot. Like even Katarina Ziegel, the legend of Katarina Ziegel, the mistress from Bratov. And I think Nora told you that this is a nice urban legend, and hopefully it's true, but there is not much of documented written proof that can be shown. So yeah, we have a lot of stuff still to study.
I have a comment on that actually, which being a paranormal investigator, I sit in unusual, and as a history student, given I'm now 2 classes away from my associate's degree. I have I'm sorry, thank you. But I have an unusual perspective on that. And the thing I think people need to remember, and something Nora said several times on the trip, where there's smoke, there's usually fire. A lot of legends have some basis in truth.
Yes.
The one thing that occurred to me hearing the problem about the being behind the wall after 5 p.m. was, well, normally, yeah, I'm sure that's true. On the other hand, if you have a visiting noblewoman who goes into labor, are you going to kick her out?
Not really, right?
Yeah.
So no.
Maybe there will be bad timing.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm gonna search for this link to put it in the chat so you can have it.
And I'll add it. For those of you tuning in later, I will put it down in the description below the video so you can check it out as well.
Great.
Because I bet our listeners will be interested.
Right.
But that's the thing with a lot of these stories, like the Pied Piper. Do I know if you can control rats with music? I have no idea. I'm a little skeptical. But there's probably something to the story. Maybe using some sort of bait or lure, and for that matter, it's not terribly hard. If you're wearing a bright, flashy costume and playing fun music, it's not hard to get kids to follow you somewhere.
True. Yeah, maybe not all the way from Hameln in North Rhine region, all the way to down to Transylvania. But well,
Yeah.
who knows? I mean, maybe he was this kind of like you have musicians touring, and then there's a lot of people following them, or
Yep.
yeah, something like
Or
that.
on a more to hypothesize on a more pleasant version of the story, maybe there was some kind of disaster where rodents destroyed a town's food supply, and he actually was bringing the children somewhere else to survive, and use the music to keep everybody calm.
I love that. You have a point there, and I've never thought of it until you said it now. There were several waves of Germanic or German-speaking settlers that came to Transylvania. The first was this one that I mentioned in the beginning of the 1200s, end of the 1100s, but then they kept on coming in different circumstances and with different reasons. But one of them was the pest that didn't really touch Transylvania and that region as much as it did Western Europe. So the pest was in several periods throughout the history.
Yeah.
But then there was a really bad one in the 1700s. And that's when the Swabians came, the Schwabs, the Schwabenland in Germany. And that's when, so in the 1700s, there was this German-speaking population that came to some parts of Transylvania, but mostly to the southwest of current-day Romania, which is Banat, the region of Banat. And generically, we consider it, let's say, Transylvania as well, but it's not really Transylvania. That's where Bela Lugosi is actually born, in the Banat region.
Oh, cool.
So yeah, that's and pest is, among others, transmitted also by rats, right? If I'm not wrong. So
you're talking about the
fleas,
bubonic plague.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Do you call it that? Okay, yes. That's what I meant.
And yes, it's primarily. Well, it was originally introduced to Europe by fleas, and then, funny enough, the popular myth is it spread by fleas. What actually happened is the fleas brought it to Europe, and then there's multiple stages it goes through, and it eventually will reach your lungs in what's called the pneumonic stage, and it spreads like the flu.
Oh, okay.
But I was actually when you said pest, I was thinking something different. But yeah, I just looked it up. According to Google, the Black Death hit Germany in 1350.
Yes.
Which has driven a lot of people, destroyed towns and driven people out.
Yeah, yeah. So that was one of the 1300s, more or less, 1400s, and then there was a really bad period of plague. I don't know why I said pest. I think that's how you say it in German. I'm sorry, but what's pest in English?
Pest would be vermin, like rats.
All right.
Things like that.
There you have it. There is a slight connection, maybe linguistically as well. But that's how you call the plague in German. And
that's very cool to know. I did not know that.
Sorry?
I hadn't known that. It's neat to know.
No. And then there's from the 1700s, from the late Baroque, let's say after Baroque period, you have these in many Germanic, like in Austria, especially in Roman Catholic regions and southern Germany, Bavaria, you have these. I need to find a picture. I will post a picture in the chat later on. Some monuments that they call Pestsäule, which is like a plague monument, like a thank you, Lord, for saving us eventually from the plague. So yeah, that was the one of the most serious plague periods throughout Western and Central Europe, I guess.
I mean, there's probably no way to know, but this makes sense to me. Particularly, I'm just thinking, we know the past the Black Plague had such a huge influence. It was both influenced by and had a huge influence on the entire history of folklore, and for the good and for the bad. One of the problems that made it so bad was in a lot of parts of Europe, there was a fear of cats because cats were associated with witches and demons. And what's a natural killer of rats?
Yeah.
The other one that's very tragic, but true, unfortunately, is we know from records that the plague didn't hit Jewish communities as hard as it did Christian communities. The reason for which is very simple. Cleanliness and ritual washing and bathing are very serious parts of the religion of Judaism, where they aren't in Christianity. So particularly given that we know the plague spread through coughing and through sneezing and things like that, the people that were very fastidious about their cleanliness because they saw it as a religious ritual didn't get sick as often.
Yeah.
But the people around them thought it was, they're using black magic to curse the rest of us.
Yeah, that I'm amazed at the similarities and the things that may come to mind when I talk to you two guys. This was really like when like there's these leitmotifs, the rat that you mentioned with the Pied Piper legend, and then the plague and the period of time when it happened, and then people being driven away from the plague maybe towards other better places like Transylvania, for example. Yeah. There goes a picture of a plague column. That's what they call it. Pestsäule am Graben in Vienna. So yeah, you will see a lot of these in around Europe, but mostly in these Roman Catholic German-speaking regions like Austria, Bavaria, Czechia, Slovakia, and so on.
And again, for the people that are seeing this after we film it, I will provide links in the description.
Right. I keep on forgetting that that not everybody sees what we post here on the chat, right?
But now, looking at the page that I don't read German, unfortunately, so I can't read the text. But looking at the pictures, this is really fascinating.
It is. It is. And this is just a version. There are more simple ones, but there are even more intricate statues like these. Yeah.
And it's hard to undersell the importance the plague had on history. I mean, by some estimates, as much as half of Europe was killed by this disease in a matter of years. A lot of how we see even modern medicine was shaped by it. And a lot of history, too. There may be something here. I'm going to have to do some research after the show and see if anybody's explored this connection before.
Yeah.
I'm betting somebody's thought of it.
Well, I think there's always a reason that certain legends form when they do and have staying power. The ones that stick around and get retold century after century. There's a reason for it.
And I think this illustrates something I want to share with my viewers about the idea of going to Transylvania. I mean, you want to go for Dracula. That's a big part of why I wanted to go. I'm not going to deny it. There's nothing wrong with that. But, particularly people here watching this have an interest in the paranormal, have an interest in folklore and things like that. Realize there is so many more stories from Romania and to Transylvania than just vampires and Dracula. Go for the Dracula, but look around, there are the connections to the Pied Piper. There is the cathedral that we visited at the beginning where they sacrificed the man's wife to help finish building it.
Right, in Argeș. Yeah, that's a really, it's a spine-chilling legend. It's also a legend, but there, as all legends, as you say, it may have a kernel of truth somewhere. Yeah, and that's Curtea de Argeș. If you want to take a note, those who watch us
Yeah.
are watching, and later on. So Curtea de Argeș is one of the most beautiful churches and monasteries in Romania, and it's also the necropolis of the Romanian royal family. So yeah, it's
It is
really,
quite gorgeous, having been there now.
yeah.
And I think you're right. I mean, I have no idea, and I'm sure if somebody was dedicated enough, they've got X-rays or something that they could go and find out. But I have no idea if it's true of Curtea de Argeș. But I know from reading over the years that idea, that practice of sacrificing somebody, of walling them up in a structure to be able to finish it, isn't unique to Curtea de Argeș. You find it in other places in Europe, and there are times they actually found dead bodies in walls.
Right, exactly. So it's not something specific for Romania at all. No, it's true. And what I've heard I wasn't there with the group. I joined you later on, but I've heard from many who were very impressed by this visit. The priest who welcomed you was really very nice, very kind, very welcoming, and also created a very special atmosphere. Like it was, of course, not everyone is Christian or religious or so, but it doesn't need to be that. I think it was a mutual feeling between you guys, I mean the group, and him. He just felt like this is a very positive group of people.
I was really happy to meet him. I'll say, unfortunately, I'm not very good at languages. I don't speak any Romanian. I tried for over a year. I tried to drill some of it into my head using Duolingo. It just didn't stick.
No.
Which isn't meant to be disrespect to Duolingo. I'm terrible with languages. I always have been. But of all the people I met on the trip, I got by with English with just about everybody. Shop owners, people I bought things with, people I communicated with. A lot of them spoke English very well. That priest is one of actually, I'll say the most notable exception of somebody who didn't speak English that I really wish I could have had a chat with. Because he seemed like such a nice, warm guy. Also, you weren't there for this either, but I bought, knowing I was going to be going and trying to communicate with spirits while I was there, right. I bought a medal of St. Michael the Archangel to bring with me. But the problem is, you always want to get St. Michael's blessed, and I didn't have time to do that before I left, and he was kind enough to bless it for me.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah. It is slightly frustrating because I was actually in a haunted house literally last night, and I couldn't find where I put it from the trip to be able to bring with me, and I probably could have used it.
Well, let's say in spirit.
Yeah. Funny enough, when we were at the church at Borgo Pass, they had the oil, and I actually did bring that with me and use it.
Yeah, the very scented, right? The mir. It's called mir. It's you usually make the sign of the cross on the forehead with it, like this. Yeah, or the priest can do that for you. But if you don't have a priest handy at any time of the day, then you do it yourself and maybe say a prayer or have a good.
The lady I was helping actually did on the forehead, the throat, because the spirits were particularly going after her throat and her ability to breathe and speak, and then on her wrist.
Right. No, yeah, I've seen that too. It's different rituals in different parts of the country, I think. Yeah.
I think in this case it was more, this is something blessed, this is where I need help, I'm going to use it there, than a specific ritual.
Right.
For example, she's Catholic, not Orthodox.
Ah, right. Yeah, well, to make things even more complicated, I am Greek Catholic, which is a compromise between Catholicism and Orthodoxism. It happened during Maria Theresia's, Empress Maria Theresia's of Habsburg time. when she tried to Catholicize all nations or all ethnicities of the Habsburg Empire. She understood, though, that she cannot do that like by the book. People will not leave their religion. So Romanians were Orthodox in Transylvania too. So in order to make it milder, there was a compromise between Catholicism and Orthodoxism, and that's how Greek Catholicism emerged.
I wasn't actually familiar with it. Thank you for sharing. That's fascinating.
Yeah, it's a fascinating part of religion, because that's when also the Illuminism happened during the 1700s. And a lot of these Greek Catholic priests from Transylvania were helping education and like the idea of schooling. They were helping it on Romanians, like they were trying to implement literacy on the Romanian population, who was, to be honest, a bit under the foot of the Saxons and the Hungarians. So they weren't allowed schools in Romanian. They weren't very able to go to school either, because they were quite poor in general, or they were quite busy with the works of the field, where you, like if you were a farmer during those times, you didn't have time to go to school too. You needed to help at home and in the farm. So this Greek Catholicism period for Transylvania, and then for the Romanian culture in general, was a very good, do you call it Illuminism in English, like enlightening period, enlightenment?
Yeah, that's what in English we call it the Enlightenment. Illuminism would make me think of something else from Germany from the time period, which of course would be the Illuminati.
Right. No. Yeah. Well, to some extent, maybe some fractions do have to do with that, but not. Let's not go into that.
in defense of that comparison, is like the original Illuminati was just a pro-Enlightenment group. It has a much worse reputation than it deserves.
Yeah.
And it's the thing I keep trying to explain to people. It's like, there hasn't been an Illuminati in several hundred years. No. It didn't make it out of the 18th century.
Just one more thing about this Greek Catholic fraction. The Greek Catholics were forbidden during the communist period. So all priests were either forced to go back to Orthodox, or transfer to Orthodoxism, which was Slavonic, it was Russian, it was under the level or on the okay line with the Communist Party. But those who didn't want to, refuse to convert to Orthodoxism, were tortured, they were imprisoned, they were killed. So it was, we were able to say we were Greek Catholic again only in 1990, after the fall of communism. So I was baptized as Orthodox, but then we retook, like my family retook the Greek Catholicism as a religion.
I mean, by no means am I an expert, but at 40. I'll be 48 in July. I am old enough to have remembered the fall of Ceausescu, at least in the news here. And being over there, I remember when I got off the airplane, I met several other people who had all landed at the same time, and we shared an Uber to the hotel. And sitting in the front of the Uber, because there was no room left in the back, and talking to our Uber driver who had grown up during the communist regime. And it's one of the reasons that I love history, and it's one of the reasons I love traveling, is it's always so much more interesting to hear about events from the people that were there.
True.
And him talking about, watching Return of the Jedi on a bootleg VHS tape of a bootleg VHS tape on a black market VHS player that his uncle bought off of a member of the secret police.
How cool is that?
Yeah, it's nuts. It's the thing that disappointed me. My this past semester I just finished. I took a recent history class, and one of our assignments was to get to do an oral history part about living history from somebody. And my first thought was to reach out to yourself or to Nora or someone to talk about that. And then I'm like, oh wait, it's supposed to be American history.
There we cannot help. I'm sorry.
Well, luckily I reached out to my brother-in-law who was a Marine during the second war of Iraq, the War of Iraqi Freedom,
Cool.
which wound up being quite fascinating.
Well, all these connections, cherish them and ask as many questions as possible, and maybe even write it down, because it's such a wealth of knowledge in those who, just as you said, were there when it happened.
Yeah. There's so many examples, and I like to write it down, and now that I've got video, I like to record it and let other people see. My grandfathers were both in World War II. One was intelligence in London when the bombs came down. The other was a gunner on a half-track shooting planes out of the sky during the Battle of the Bulge.
Wow.
It's like, I've had World War II history covered by 3 different history classes since I went back to school, including one specifically about World War II, and nothing compares to hearing about it from people who were there.
Sure.
And we are coming towards the end of the hour, unfortunately.
Yeah, we are.
Because this has been really wonderful.
Yeah, I'm so grateful that we had time to catch up. And yeah, let's hope we can catch up in person someday soon, maybe in the US or in Transylvania or elsewhere.
You and your husband, your kids, and Nora and her husband, for that matter, have a standing invitation. You wind up on the East Coast, you let me know. We'll come find you.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It would be really nice to meet you two guys. And yeah, thank you so much, Kevin. We will remember that. And yeah, when we made plans for visiting, at least it was New York we were supposed to visit, and Jersey. And my husband works with horse racing.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, well, it's really big here in Sweden. It's trot racing. So he's a sport commentator.
Brian
yeah.
and I both live in New Jersey.
Sorry?
Brian and I both live in New Jersey. New York's only a short train ride away.
Right.
Yeah, and there's a lot of horse stuff in New Jersey, actually, around the Freehold area.
Exactly. Yeah. That's where we were supposed to go. It was 2018. So we were supposed to go to Canada and from there to New York. But then the kids got, do you call that chicken pox?
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
Typical.
not fun. I've had it.
No, I hope everyone has had it when they were kids, because I heard that it's much worse when you get it as an adult.
Yeah.
I had it at 16. It was a nightmare. I nearly went to the hospital.
No.
Although the good news is now they have a vaccination against it.
Yeah, they do. That's true. It came quite recently. So yeah, let's hope it, with all other vaccinations, it will keep humanity going for long.
And I just had an idea, a suggestion for you and your husband. Aside from New York and New Jersey, there's one other place you might consider going that's very close to New Jersey, which is Bucks County in Pennsylvania. But aside from being where I grew up, it has horse racing as well. There is a track in, I want to say Bristol, but it's also one of the top places on the planet for raising thoroughbreds.
Ah, cool. So do you spell that Bucks like Bucks Bunny, or
Bucks like Bucks, like a male deer.
right? Okay.
Yeah, it's actually very close. It's right on the other side of the river from New Jersey.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's not far at all. Okay. Sorry, guys. This is my son's phone signal, and he's outside. So I hope it's.
We'll let you go. But,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Thank you
It's
so
about
much.
time then anyway.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, Brian, Kevin. Thank you so much for today, and let's keep in touch and see you soon again, I hope.
I hope so. Thank you for joining us. You're always welcome back.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Take care. Bye. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that was our friend Gloria Anderson of Experience Transylvania. You can find a link to the tour company in the description. They do wonderful tours. Gloria, as you can see from the interview, is a very wonderful lady. I highly recommend checking out what they're up to. I am going to take a moment to make good on my promise and post those links in the description, so that people who want to see about the play column and the group that does the video, the Corpus Draculanum, can go check those out. Brian, do you have anything coming up you want to plug?
This Tuesday night, I'm going to be doing a author panel at
Fantastic.
in New Jersey. Yeah, so I don't know how many people that are listening would be anywhere nearby or interested.
We're in New Jersey.
Let me actually have to check. I should remember this, but it's I don't want to get it wrong. I think it's not too far. It's Patterson or Plainfield. Yeah, Plainfield
very close
Library.
to you.
Yeah. It's not far from you.
Yeah, the downside of which is I have to work. Otherwise, I would show up to support you if nothing else.
That's all right. It's just going to be a bunch of us talking about the writing life, and so I don't know if
it's a writer's life for you.
Exactly. I am planning a relaunch of my books, though. So
good.
So hopefully we can maybe get something out with them. I don't think we ever we did an interview years back, and I remember we constantly had like technical problems with it, where I don't think we ever managed to actually get it up.
Now that we have things working again properly, we should do that again.
Yeah.
I mean, Amish and I were just talking about doing more vampire-related stuff to bring in your wheelhouse. And as you know, I'm a giant vampire nerd as well. Yeah. So it's not like I'll be bored. Although, of course, and doing the vampire panels, part of that idea is it's like, now let's do this. This will be interesting. And yes, obviously, when your books come out, we'll be talking about them and we'll be promoting them. They are very much worth looking into for our listeners and quite reasonable in terms of price, which is always nice.
Yeah.
Trust me, the things I go look books that I go looking for they're very obscure and expensive.
Yeah. I try to avoid that.
Which is good. Let's see. I should add this as well. Folks, I've already posted, by the time you're hearing this, the links that Gloria mentioned are already in the chat, or not in the chat, in the description. I'm also going to add a link to the
Oh.
Live streaming is on.
That's already over.